Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm talking to you today from my favorite coffee shop down in Dumaguete. It's called Ground Zero, and I'm pretty much coming here every day, it seems. Anyway, so I apologize if it's a little background noise. Anyway, today I want to share with you a tragic story that just happened over here, and it's really sad, but there's some lessons to be learned from this, so please listen. Okay, what happened was a friend of my wife's who is living with an expat who's a European gentleman, and I won't mention any names, but he's been living with this girl for more than a couple of years. They have a beautiful little 2-year-old boy together, and she also has an 8-year-old daughter, which is his stepdaughter. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, like every couple, they got into a bit of a fight and felt they needed a few days breather apart, which is probably a good thing. So he took off from Dumaguete to go to Cebu and was gone a few days. Just the other, about a week ago, he was heading back from Cebu, and in the morning, just outside of Cebu in a little town called Kaka, he had a unfortunate incident. His motorcycle nearly hit a dog that ran out into the street, and in trying to avoid hitting the dog, he came off his motorcycle, ended up hurting himself pretty badly, breaking his leg, his collarbone, some other issues in his back, and lots of cuts and bruises and stuff. So he got taken to emergency, and they managed to contact his girlfriend, who was in Dumaguete. She obviously wanted to get out there as soon as possible, so she arranged for one of her neighbors to come watch her children so she could leave. She went out there pretty much immediately and to be with him. Once she arrived with him, he was pretty beaten up and needed surgery. So she was there while he was getting his surgery done, and everything actually went pretty good with the surgery, apparently. So he was in recovery, and while he was in recovery, my wife and myself, we went down to their house, which is not far from where we live, and we wanted to check on the kids to make sure they're doing okay and got everything they need. While we were there at their house, they called, and we managed to do a video conversation with them, and I got to talk to the expat, who was appreciating that we were looking out for his kids, and he was looking very, very good actually. He looked like he was in good spirits. He told me that he was over the worst of it. He's in much less pain now, and hoping to be able to get out the hospital in a few days and come home. So we thought everything was good until yesterday evening, when my my wife came into my office while I was working, and she had this shocking look on her face, like she had seen a ghost or something. And I was, honey, what's wrong? She goes, I won't say the name. My friend's partner, he's dead. What happened? Apparently, there was a complication from this accident. I don't know if they just missed it, or I don't know how it happened. But something was causing his lung, I guess, to bleed and fill up with some kind of fluid and blood, and I guess it was too late for them to be able to fix it, and he passed away. Of course, my wife's friend is devastated and just in shock, and is trying to figure out how to tell the children and the little boy, 2-year-old, that his daddy's never coming home. Just an absolutely horrible, horrific situation. I having a 2-year-old myself, I can't think of a worse thing than to have to tell you, no, baby, dad is gone. Oh, heartbreaking. Anyway, the girl is still in Cebu waiting for the expat's parents to arrive to claim the body and take it home. So we'll keep checking on the kids until that time, and they're not going to be made aware of what's happened until their mother comes back and can talk to them personally. So as I was thinking about this incident, I actually was having trouble sleeping last night. I felt an urge to want to do a video about it because I want to remind expats that are coming out here for retirement, long vacations, just to visit. First thing I want to emphasize is safety on a motorcycle. You know, I've been out here for a long time, and I've been riding my motorcycle for a long time, and praise God, I've not had any accidents yet, but I've certainly had my fair share of near misses. So when you do come out here and you either rent or buy a motorcycle, which a lot of you will and do, I know, please be aware of the dangers out here on the roads, not just from these Philippine drivers that tend to not pay a lot of attention. They never look. They always pull out in front of you from intersections. You get these tricycle drivers that like to make these sudden U-turns on a busy street, which was one of my near misses actually. And just generally, people who don't tend to pay as much attention like they would in USA. So you've got to be extremely cautious of other drivers and always expect them to do something nuts, because they probably will. The other thing, which seems to be a bigger cause of accidents, is these animals, these dogs. There's dogs everywhere that there's running around and running across the streets. I've had on 2 occasions at least where they've come from the bushes, jumped out in front of my motorcycle, and there's just no time to react. I mean, thankfully, I just missed them, but you know, just a second earlier, and I could be in that situation. So easy can happen. So please, if you're not aware of the dangers of these animals and stuff, I want to make you aware of it now. So when you're on a motorcycle out here, please be thinking about that wherever you drive. That there's always that danger. I always recommend wearing a helmet wherever you go. There's a lot of areas where they don't enforce that law, and you can, you know, take your helmet off and ride around, but it's just not worth it. One small little accident and you're not got a helmet on, and that could be the end. So that's my recommendation on the motorcycle. So please be careful. The other thing that I feel like I want to talk about, and again, this is mostly for people that are thinking of coming out here to retire or extended stays, and that's the health system over here. I've had several experiences, unpleasant experiences of doctors and hospitals over here, and I've heard many more stories. That's not to say I haven't heard some good ones too. I mean, there are some people that would say, yeah, I'm very happy with medical care and I got good treatment. And I'm finding that's more rare to hear that kind of feedback from their experience. Most of the time I hear it's not good. I've had my own personal issues, and being even told by a neurologist over here for an issue I have, I want to get fixed. Basically, forget it. We don't have. They don't know anybody in the Philippines that can help me. They suggest us to go and see a specialist in USA. It would be much better. Also, my kids have had. Both my kids have had experiences which are just not what you would expect from a hospital. Just briefly, I'll tell you about my stepdaughter, who's 4 years old now. Was blessed. When she was 3, so a year ago, so when we were living in a different house. Actually, before we were living in what is called a compound, where there's several houses all sharing one property, and and I'll never do that again, by the way. But in these compounds, you can't really control the animals that are roaming around the house and neighbors' dogs that don't stay in their area. They'll just, go wherever they want. And so my stepdaughter actually got bitten by a neighbor's dog. Now, I didn't know at that time that the dog had a rabies shot or what. So I thought the responsible thing to do was to get my child to emergency and get her a shot, get her looked at and make sure everything's okay, and then get her a rabies shot. So I went to emergency at a well-known hospital here, one of the better ones. And after waiting quite a bit of time, they eventually saw her and said, yeah, we're going to give her this shot and everything. And I said, great. And then they handed me a prescription. Said, well, you need to go pick up the vaccine. Okay, where do I pick that up? So just go to the hospital pharmacy. So went to the hospital pharmacy and they're like, oh, sorry, we don't have this in stock. Okay, so I said, well, where do I go? And it was already kind of in the evening, a lot of places are closed anyway. So I went back to the doctor and I said, look, they don't have this, what do I do? He said, well, you're going to need to go to a pharmacy and find it. I said, well, a lot of them are closed now, I don't even know where to go. And he said, well, you just have to drive around till you find one. I'm like, screw this isn't going to work. So we got a little frustrated and ended up going home. And luckily we found out when we got back, we contacted the owner, we found the owner of the dog, and they assured us the dog has been vaccinated and has rabies. So, we were less worried. We thought that baby will be fine. Anyway, that's just one incident. I had an even worse incident with my young little Gracie, who was 1 at the time, and that's another long story because that's to do with COVID and all that stuff, and what they did to us there was just terrible. Anyway, so please be really aware of the dangers of the health system over here, and if you're coming out here and you have pre-existing conditions, I would really carefully consider if you can get the treatment over here for what you might need. Also, you have a rare blood type, for example. I know from a friend of mine who has an AB negative blood type that it's just not available in the Philippines, period. So, and they've said most rare blood types are not available. So if you have a rare blood type, that's something to consider before you come out here. Anyway, just be aware that the health coverage over here is not what you're going to get back home. And I worry about this all the time. It's my biggest concern out here. But it's one of the risks of living here, and I at this point I actually don't have a lot of choice, so we have to live with it. But just remember, you're here at your own risk when it comes to health, and it's important to know that. The last thing I want to talk about is from my Christian perspective now is the importance of knowing Jesus Christ. Now, some of you may be on the fence. Maybe some of you are thinking, oh, maybe I'll look into this at some point, or maybe you're just not sure, and you're thinking, oh, maybe next month or next year or whatever, I'll get serious and seek the truth and seek God. But based on the story I just told you, what happened this weekend, it's just a big reminder to me of how easily our lives can be taken from us, just gone in a nanosecond. I mean, unexpectedly. But, this poor guy, just in his mid-40s, healthy, enjoying life, and gone, just like that. Now, my understanding is this gentleman was not spiritual, and actually did not even like talking about God or religious matters, and just wasn't interested. Now, of course, I pray and hope that in his last desperate hours that somehow he cried out to God, and maybe he found him, and maybe he accepted Jesus. I don't know. we'll never know. That's between him and God. And I just recommend to anybody that has thought about looking into Christianity to not put it off for too long, because you just never know when it can happen, when your time will come. I mean, I don't want to sound depressing and morbid, but it's just a fact. Things happen, and let's not put off important decisions that can affect our eternal destiny. So anyway, I just ask you to think about that and pray about it. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to talk about today, and I think they're important things to be aware of. And I thank you so much for watching, and look forward to doing my next video. Thank you. Bye bye.